Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about model-based systems engineering and its importance to GEOINT. My name is Rich Cinquegrana. I'm a senior AI/ML engineer here at the TekSynap. And when we talk about model-based systems engineering, it's very, very simple. We're going to take something that historically has been done in document format, reams of paper in binders, and let's make sure that what's on page 10 is aligned to what's on page 1, and does volume 3 align to volume 8, and we're going to condense that into a software-based object-oriented approach to design, plain and simple. So this is critically important in today's defense acquisition and intelligence acquisition environments, because we've been seeing a progression by the government across all forms of government of needing to get more agile in the way we deliver our products. It's been publicly said for at least a couple of years now that our warfighters and mission owners are not getting what they need. They're not getting it in the time they need it. And by the time these programs are delivered to market, they are at times obsolete. And so we've seen this progression over the years of policy. When it comes to the GEOINT community, NGA has been very fortunate in getting the Maven program office, which has taken the agile approach and given an example of how it can be done, delivering capabilities in days and weeks instead of months and years. And just recently, we have acquisition strategy from the Department of War, once again emphasizing the importance of agile product delivery. So the way MBSE should be working today, like I said, we have an object-oriented design, okay? And we need to start thinking about not what the finished product is going to do, which is very important, but how do I take that finished product and break it down into executable pieces and parts, right? Like, I understand you can't deliver an airplane in pieces and parts, but we can deliver support to GEOINT sensor programs in iterative capability components and products that give value to the customer today, instead of having that customer wait months or years for the reality of the capability that they're paying very good money for. And this is really important for GEOINT. So today, in today's like highly competitive geopolitical environment, we've got NGA managing incredibly complex sensor programs on behalf of other IC customers. It seems like every year new sensor platforms are being released where NGA has the responsibility of collecting that information, filtering it, analyzing it, and doing something with it. And the pace of this technology is not slowing down. In fact, it's getting even more rapid. And when you overlay that with AI, it's overwhelming for agencies like NGA to manage all this under traditional acquisition approach. What MBSE should be doing, what MBSE can do, is understand what are my critical needs, what are my requirements behind those needs, and what is my critical path to delivering modular sets of capability. Now, what can I get in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months instead of 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? So the impact could be pretty big, right? So we're in a fiscally constrained, pardon me, we're in a fiscally constrained environment, and government agencies like NGA and other stakeholders are going to be asked to do more with less. And we need a way for the design technology of MBSE to help the government understand what they need, how they need it, and more importantly, what resources are required to deliver in that iterative model. So when we talk about delivering capability to the warfighter in a more rapidly iterative fashion, we're able to deliver that with real mission impact and not just words in a contract or words on a slide, for example. So if I were to summarize this, when I look at model-based systems engineering, it is foundational. Like, I don't see how an agency like NGA or an important critical mission to the IC like GEOINT can be sustained in today's rapidly changing agile environment without smart application of model-based systems engineering. It does not require the government to surrender its requirements, ownership, or capability descriptions to industry. They will own the entire capability need. And when this is done correctly, like when you just simply take what NGA has already, its systems, its model-based design software, everything it already has, and bring that together seamlessly and correctly, you get a firm foundation for object-oriented design and a digital engineering approach to managing the GeoInt mission. And with that, I just want to thank you all for your time. I hope this was informative, and if you have any questions, please just reach out and let me know.
Great, thanks, Rich. I'm Mike DeLaFleur at TekSynap Corporation. I'm here today talking with Rich Cinquegrana, our senior AI ML engineer. Rich, I had a couple questions for you related on model-based systems engineering, a topic both you and I have talked about a lot recently. And I also wanted to ask you about your perspectives and some of your successes on the NGA Maven program. So maybe I'd start there, excuse me. Tell me a little bit about your role in the NGA Maven program, what it is, what you personally were able to accomplish on that program.
Sure. Thanks, Mike. Yeah. So I spent about, pardon me, I spent about 3 years at NGA, the entire time being on the Maven program. My role, so you know how federal contracts work. The role I was in was like senior systems engineer or expert systems engineer or whatever they call it over there. The role I took on day to day was more like the senior systems engineer as well as lead enterprise architect. And that sounds like jibber jabber, but what that essentially means is when I was responsible for helping the program define what it does and communicate that to big NGA to do two things: to understand how it can plug into the NGA's lines of business, meaning like think of it like a puzzle, or actually even better, think of it like a bank acquisition. I'm a very big bank. I just bought a small regional bank. How am I going to fold this small regional bank into the way I do business? How am I going to turn over its ATMs? How do I know if I have redundant systems? How do I know where it fits into what I do? This is no different with the government. So NGA acquired, so to speak, the Maven program, and my job was to document what it did. And as far as impact, so Maven was very interesting and continues to be very interesting. It's a rapid program. And I wasn't kidding when I said earlier that they literally got a requirement on Monday and were able to deploy it the following Wednesday. And it's really, really hard to keep up with a program like that if you're applying traditional approaches to both engineering and architecture. So what we did is we actually built the architecture and engineering diagrams of the program the same way Maven does Maven capability delivery. It was iterative, it was in small chunks, and when chained together, you do get that big picture. Whereas traditionally, they want to build the entire capability picture and then go, okay, we're good. Let's go to the presses now. And we did it a little bit differently. So what we did is, and I apologize for the long-winded answer here, Mike, but essentially what we did is we took an agile and iterative approach to engineering and architecting design that the program was using for its products. And it went over very well.
Great.
I would argue. Yeah.
Great. Sounds like we got some real capabilities fielded there on behalf of NGA. Tell me a little bit about, we had talked earlier and you'd mentioned earlier the tools and the systems and the people, they already exist to do this model-based systems engineering. So I know we at TekSynap, we have a TekSellerate Foundry, which is our R&D foundry or capability, so to speak. What are some of the things you're working on in TekSellerate that can support like modern systems engineering?
So good question. So you saw in an earlier slide that we kind of hinted toward a digital engineering concept, right? So yes, NGA, and for that part, every federal agency in this government has, in theory, everything they need, right? So the federal government is public sector, it's public money. So you get appropriation, then you get a big pot of, you set a budget, right? And then that budget becomes an appropriation, and that appropriation becomes a pool of money that you have to align against what you're spending. And then you have to monitor how you're spending. And then for a lot of lucky folks, you get to go to Capitol Hill and tell them how you're spending the money you were appropriated. And a lot of this comes from analyzing siloed systems and building PowerPoint slides. And my favorite at NGA was the agency-wide data call, where we all had to scramble around to build slides for some oversight briefing. So what we're looking at in TekSellerate is not only how do I connect these systems together, because that's kind of a no-brainer. We've been integrating systems all along, but the problem the government has with this is a lot of these systems owners find their data to be sensitive enough that they don't want to share it. And the fear is if I connect system A to system B and system B has highly sensitive budget information, oh no, somebody that accesses systems A might see it, right? So we're looking at not only how do we seamlessly connect these complex systems together, but how do I introduce, say, for example, agentic AI that can constantly ping these systems of record for very specific data that have been set up to answer very specific questions that build that picture. Because if I'm a program manager, or I'm a senior leader managing capabilities, or I've got to go to Capitol Hill and tell people how they're spending their money, I would love a no-kidding mathematical way to say, how has this capability that I'm responsible for been delivered? How is it being funded? What contracts do I have, and how much of that contract money has already been spent? Do I have a shortfall? When I go to leadership meetings, when I go to Capitol Hill, am I asking for more money? Do I have the math behind explaining why I need this money? I've got plenty of subject matter expertise, right? Building is full of really smart people that can sit there and speak with authority, but it's so much more impactful when I can bring up a dashboard and I can say, you see this little red wedge in the pie? That's a monetary gap. I've tied that to capabilities and functions behind what I'm responsible for delivering. I've tied that to mission outcome. And if I don't get money for this little wedge right here, these are the missions in 3, 6, 9 months that I can't deliver. And that's a straight line with math. So what we're doing in TekSellerate is, how do we use the traditional way of connecting these systems together with more modern approaches to collecting, like surgically collecting the data we need, so that system owners can feel confident that they're just not opening the barn door to anybody that can come in and look at everything in their system. So long answer, Mike, but I'm happy to clarify some points, but did that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's,
Okay.
Certainly, I mean, in this environment of accelerating AI use and acquisition reform, I think these ideas and tools, it's an idea whose time has already come, but it's especially poignant here. Just one more question, Rich.
Sure.
You've worked in the industry and in the intelligence community for a long time. What do you see here at TekSynap that makes you feel like you might be able to advance the cause of our customers' missions perhaps more than in some previous experiences?
Yeah. So I I'm going to be very candid here. I found TekSynap kind of an outlier, to be honest with you. And I'm going to be honest. Before TekSynap approached me with a job opportunity, never heard of TekSynap, never heard of it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's like 1,000 companies here in the DC area. But once I started talking to the folks that were interested in my skill set, I realized, like, for the first time ever, there is a company out there that aligns with how I like to think. Because one of the ways I think about my job, and I've carried this with me for 20 plus years, is it's not only important to deliver capabilities to the warfighter, but we've got to be responsible with the taxpayer money that we get. This is why I love engineering and architecture, because like I just said in my answering your previous question, if done correctly, you can align the money you get to what you need. And so you're reducing the risk of cost overruns. You're reducing the risk of hoping you get a supplemental. And as a taxpayer, I think it's critically important that our government spends our tax dollars wisely. So when I was interviewing with TekSynap and speaking to the leadership team that I would be working both with and for, I found that they had the exact same passion for the job that I have, that I've been hoping somebody else would have. This company is focused on mission delivery. They're not focused on fancy buzzwords or consultant speak or, selling a service because it's the in service right now. And then, when something popular comes up down the road, well, they'll package that up and sell that next. It's almost like the tools and capabilities that they do propose to the government are being proposed because it fits their philosophy of delivering value to the customer, delivering accountability to the taxpayer, and the things that they're proposing implement those are simply a vehicle for that philosophy. And that's the way I've always thought. Like, technology comes and goes, there's fads and this and that. Like, AI will be replaced by something else in 5 years, and we'll be like, AI? Well, what's AI? Like, because this industry changes so much. But underlying, like, I guess I don't want to call it almost like a moral code, but there's just this underlying passion for do good work and the work will come. And I know that sounds cliche. A lot of companies I've worked for in the past have said it. This is the first company I've seen on a literal day-to-day basis demonstrates that. And that's an outlier, and that's a very exciting outlier in my opinion. So
Great. Well, I share your passion for the mission. I agree with you with the company philosophy and our approach, and look forward to working with you at NGA and other agencies on solving some tough mission problems and spending our tax dollars wisely. So thanks, Rich.
you bet. Thank you very much, Mike.